Have you ever wondered why some people seem to vanish from life after they turn 80, while others the same age still walk tall, still smile, still feel alive? They don't always have better genes, they're not always richer, they just age differently. It's easy to blame decline on fate or biology, but what if the truth is quieter? What if it's hidden not in medical reports, but in the things you stopped doing without realizing? Not going outside because your knees ache. Not chatting with the neighbor because your hearing's not great. Not getting out of bed early because, what's the rush anymore? This video isn't about fear, it's about noticing. Noticing the 5 small things that slowly take away your energy, your memory, your spirit, if you let them. But here's the good news. Once you see them, you can change them. Not overnight, but one step at a time. And the first step is knowing. Stay with me. Have you ever sat in silence, watching someone you love slowly withdraw from life after turning 80? Not because they were sick, not because they had some dramatic diagnosis, but because something inside them simply dimmed. They stopped going to the store, even though their legs still worked. They stopped calling people back, even though they still missed them. They stopped stepping outside, even though the sun was shining. No one says it aloud, but you can feel it when a person's body is still here, yet they've already begun to leave. And then there are others. People the same age, perhaps with even more medical issues, but they still wake up with purpose. They still laugh with strangers, water their garden, memorize the names of the neighborhood kids. They walk a little slower, sure, but they walk like it still matters. So what's the difference? Why do some people quietly fade after 80, while others seem to live with a spark, a rhythm, a reason? Most people assume it's about genes, or luck, or just how the body ages. But that's only part of the story. The deeper truth: aging doesn't arrive in one big moment. It creeps in silently. It hides inside the things you stop doing without even noticing. Like skipping your walk because the sidewalk felt a little slippery. Like ordering groceries online instead of chatting with the grocer who used to greet you by name. Like sleeping in, not because you're tired, but because there's nothing worth getting up for. It's not the big events that age us most. It's the small silences we don't fight against. The tiny goodbyes we make with our habits, our emotions, our routines. And here's the part no one tells you. Those small changes, those invisible shifts, don't just affect your mood or your energy. They change your brain. They alter your immune system. They reshape the rhythm of your sleep, the sharpness of your memory, and even the strength of your muscles. Because your body listens to how you live. It pays attention to what you stop doing. And when you stop sending it signals that you're still here, still part of life, still needed, it starts turning the systems down. Like a house dimming the lights one by one, getting ready to shut down for the night. But what if you could flip the switch back on? What if you could catch those 5 invisible habits, the ones most people don't see until it's too late, and gently reverse them? Not with dramatic change, not with some magic pill, but with simple, daily shifts that quietly tell your body, I'm still here, I'm still living, I still matter. This video is your invitation to notice what others miss. Because once you understand what's quietly pulling people into decline, you'll know how to do the opposite. And maybe, just maybe, you'll light up the path forward, not just for yourself, but for someone you love too. If something inside you stirred while listening to the opening prairies, if a memory surfaced, or if you quietly thought, maybe I've been slipping too, then this video is for you. Because this isn't just about living longer. It's about living with clarity, with dignity, with a sense of self that doesn't quietly fade just because a birthday number changed. Too many people walk into their 80s thinking their best days are behind them, that slowing down is inevitable, that shrinking into the background is just what happens next. But what if that isn't the truth? What if your body is not breaking down, it's just waiting for you to give it a reason to keep going? What if your energy isn't lost, it's just been dormant? And what if your spirit hasn't disappeared, it's just been silenced under years of repetition, grief, or solitude? I'm not here to sell you motivation or promise you miracles. I'm not going to tell you to think positive or act like everything is easy, because I know it's not. You've lived through more than most people ever will. You've known pain, loss, joy, change. You've already made it through so much. But maybe, just maybe, you forgot that you still have a say in how the rest of the journey unfolds. In the next few minutes, we're going to uncover 5 quiet, hidden reasons that explain why so many people start to unravel after 80. Not suddenly, not catastrophically, but through subtle shifts in habits, in rhythms, in the invisible choices they stop making each day. And I'll show you how those same 5 reasons can be reversed, gently, simply, with awareness and care. You don't need a gym. You don't need money. You don't need to become someone else. What you need is to remember that you still matter, and that your body, your brain, your heart, they're listening. They respond to what you give them. And every small action, every quiet signal you send is either telling them to shut down or come back to life. This video isn't a lecture. It's a conversation. A kind reminder from someone who's walked beside hundreds of elders, some who flourished and others who faded, and began to see the patterns no one else was talking about. If you're ready to see what most people miss and to choose something different, not someday, but today, then I promise what's coming next might shift something deep in you. Not because I said it, but because your body remembers what it feels like to live. Let's remind it together. Walter used to be the kind of man who had a rhythm. Every evening at 5:30 sharp, he laced up his walking shoes, zipped up his windbreaker, and took the same path through the neighborhood. He'd wave to the lady watering her roses, nod at the 2 teens skateboarding by the bus stop, and pause for a quick chat with Mr. Dawson, who sat out on his porch with a crossword puzzle and a glass of iced tea. It wasn't exercise to Walter. It was live. It was shape, structure, a ritual that quietly reminded his body, you're still part of this world. But one rainy Thursday, Walter slipped. He didn't break anything. No ambulance, no hospital visit, just a bruised hip and a shaken confidence. The next evening, he stayed in. The one after that, he told himself it was still too wet outside. By the 3rd day, his shoes were still by the door, but now coated with a thin layer of dust. And so began the unraveling. Weeks passed. Walter started ordering groceries online. He stopped dropping in at the post office, stopped chatting with the barista who used to greet him by name. He began sleeping later, eating less, watching more television. Not because he was weak, but because he had quietly disconnected from the web of tiny moments that once held his life together. His daughter Emily noticed. She visited one weekend and saw how her father's once sharp gaze now drifted through the window without focus. The house was cleaner than usual, too clean. No crossword on the kitchen table, no worn walking shoes by the door. When she asked how he was, he smiled politely and said, "I'm fine." But his voice carried the tone of someone slowly fading into the wallpaper. What happened to Walter wasn't rare. It wasn't tragic in the way we usually define tragedy. It was ordinary, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Because there's a kind of decline that doesn't come with pain or panic. It comes with stillness, with habit, with the slow, steady shrinking of a life that once felt full. Now here's the part most people miss. Just 2 doors down from Walter lived Raymond, at 84. A retired firefighter, knees worn and lungs scarred from decades of smoke. But every morning, rain or shine, Raymond walked his dog to the corner bakery. He never bought much, sometimes just a slice of banana bread or a black coffee. But he always spoke to 3 people: the cashier, a neighbor who passed with her stroller, and the elderly man who opened the shop gate at sunrise. Raymond said it wasn't about the bread. It was about the invisible string of connections that reminded him, I'm still here, and I still belong. 2 men, the same street, the same age, but radically different paths. Not because of health, not because of money, but because of the choices they made after something shook them. Walter withdrew. Raymond reached outward. And these moments, these choices, small as they seem, carry weight. Because it's not a fall that makes you old. It's what you do afterward. It's not the absence of people. It's the silence you accept when you stop reaching for them. It's not the calendar date. It's whether you still have something to wake up for. Something that stirs your feet to the ground and whispers, today still matters. This story isn't about heroes. It's about noticing. It's about realizing that every quiet disconnection, the skipped walk, the missed conversation, the forgotten routine, leaves a small crack in the foundation of your well-being. And unless you gently seal those cracks, your body, your memory, your very sense of self begins to drift. Not all at once, but just enough to lose your place in the world you once danced with so naturally. So let's step back into the story, not to fix Walter, not to glorify Raymond, but to ask ourselves, which direction are we leaning toward right now? And more importantly, what would it take to gently shift our weight back toward life, to what's really happening inside the body when someone like Walter starts to fade? It's not just aging, not in the way we usually think of it. Yes, cells are changing. Yes, the body is more vulnerable. But the most dangerous shift is not biological. It's behavioral. It's what happens when the systems of the body stop receiving the signals they need to stay alert, active, and connected. Let's break it down simply. One of the most overlooked drivers of long-term vitality is something scientists call microsocial engagement. That's a fancy way of saying tiny human contact. Not deep conversations, not big reunions. Just everyday interactions, a nod to the man sweeping the sidewalk, a hello to the mail carrier, that short "how are you" to the lady at the fruit stall, even if she always replies the same way. According to research from Harvard's Department of Aging and Social Health, these tiny moments of connection stimulate neural pathways in the brain related to memory, emotional regulation, and even motor coordination. When those moments disappear, the brain starts dimming down, not just emotionally, but structurally. Cortisol rises, inflammation increases, immune function drops. It's not just loneliness, it's biological stress. And the tricky part? It happens so quietly you don't even notice. You're not lonely, you're just ordering groceries online. You're not isolated, you're just staying in because it's cold out. But your brain and body are listening, and they interpret silence as danger. Now let's talk about movement. Most people think the body slows down because it's tired. But in reality, it often slows down because it's not being reminded how to move. Your body is not like a machine that you rest to preserve. It's more like a garden that needs regular tending. When you stop reaching for high shelves, your shoulders tighten. When you stop walking, your core muscles, those deep ones that stabilize your spine, begin to shrink. When those muscles weaken, your balance goes next. You might think, I stopped walking because I was unsteady. But often, the truth is reversed. You became unsteady because you stopped walking. The Mayo Clinic confirms this cycle. As we age, muscle mass decreases naturally. But inactivity accelerates this process tenfold, especially in the legs, hips, and trunk, where strength equals independence. Here's another hidden factor. Inside your body is a delicate clock, the circadian rhythm. It governs sleep, hormone release, digestion, even cognition. And that clock doesn't run on time alone. It runs on light. Natural morning light tells your brain it's time to be awake, to focus, to move. Darkness at night says wind down, repair, restore. But after 80, the body's sensitivity to light increases dramatically. And yet that's when many older adults start missing their morning sunlight. They stay in longer. Curtains stay closed. Evenings are flooded with TV glow. The result? Disrupted sleep, foggy thinking, irritability, fatigue. It's not just getting older, it's a body running out of rhythm because it's lost its daily light cues. One study from the National Institute on Aging found that seniors who received at least 30 minutes of natural morning light within the first hour of waking had better sleep, sharper memory, and stronger immunity across the board. Now, layer in one more element: emotional suppression. By the time someone reaches their 80s, they've likely experienced more loss than most people will in a lifetime. Spouses, friends, siblings, sometimes even a child. And yet the world expects them to be used to it. But the body never gets used to grief. When sadness, anger, or loneliness aren't acknowledged, they don't disappear. They get stored. And the cost isn't just emotional, it's physical. Suppressed emotion triggers chronic tension in the nervous system, which disrupts digestion, immune response, and sleep patterns. Even heart rate variability, the tiny changes between heartbeats that reflect how well your body can respond to stress, declines under emotional pressure. Finally, let's talk about purpose. Not grand philosophical purpose, but daily anchors, small reasons to get up, to dress, to move, to be needed. The human body thrives when it feels relevant. When there's someone expecting something of you, even if it's a plant that needs watering or a neighbor who waits for your morning wave. When those rhythms disappear, the body enters a kind of hibernation. Not because it's dying, but because it thinks it's no longer required to show up. That's the subtle truth no one talks about. The body listens to habit. It listens to light. It listens to movement, emotion, and connection. And if all it hears is silence, stillness, and disconnection, it assumes it's time to let go. But the good news? All of these systems are responsive. The brain builds new connections into the 90s. Muscles strengthen with even light resistance. Sleep can reset, light can heal. And the heart, if allowed to feel, can begin to breathe again. You don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need to fight aging. You just need to notice where the signal's been lost and gently send it back. Let's now look at the 5 hidden forces we've just uncovered, not as problems, but as invitations. Invitations to shift, to reconnect, to reclaim the daily rhythm that tells your body, I'm still here. These aren't grand fixes. They're quiet rituals. Simple choices that act like gentle threads, weaving vitality back into your day. Let's begin. Maybe you've stopped talking to people as much. Not because you're shy, but because your hearing isn't what it used to be. Because conversations feel like effort? Or because the people you used to chat with are no longer around? But even a few seconds of genuine connection each day can change your biology. When you nod to the woman sweeping the sidewalk, when you say hello to the boy walking his dog, when the cashier at the corner store says, "See you tomorrow," and you answer, "You bet." These are not small things. They're signals. They tell your brain we're still part of the human world. And that message reduces stress hormones. It improves emotional regulation. It reinforces memory circuits. If your day is quiet, create noise on purpose. Go to the market instead of ordering groceries online. Visit the pharmacy in person. Choose a regular time to walk the same path, so you naturally see the same faces. And when you do, don't just pass by. Make eye contact. Say hello. Even if it's brief, even if they don't say much back. Because it's not about what's said. It's about reminding your brain that it still lives in a social world. Now, let's talk about movement. Not exercise, just the act of reminding your body that it knows how to move. If you've been avoiding stairs, take 2 steps today. If you've stopped reaching for high shelves, do it slowly, once or twice, with support nearby. You don't need to stretch like a dancer. You just need to disrupt the stillness. Try this. Every morning after you brush your teeth, sit down and stand up from a chair 5 times. No rush. Just breathe through each one. That movement activates your core, your balance, and your leg strength. And over time, it tells your nervous system, we are still able. Hey, Walter, remember him? He didn't get weaker because he aged. He got weaker because he stopped moving. But movement, no matter how small, has memory. And your muscles are always listening, always ready to return. You don't have to go far. You just have to go forward. Let's shift now to light. How often does your skin feel sunlight before 10 a.m.? If the answer is rarely, then your inner clock, the one that governs your sleep, your mood, your digestion, is likely out of sync. But this can change quickly. Just 10 to 15 minutes of morning sunlight can recalibrate your entire system. If going outside is difficult, sit by a window. Let natural light hit your face. If you're in a colder climate, bundle up and stand on your porch. What matters most is consistency. When your eyes receive that natural light in the morning, your brain increases serotonin production. Serotonin helps you feel calm and clear. That serotonin turns into melatonin at night, the hormone that helps you sleep. So the light you get today becomes the rest you get tonight. Helen, age 84, changed nothing about her diet or medications. Morning. All she did was open her blinds first thing in the morning and dim the lights an hour before bed. Within 2 weeks, her sleep deepened. Her memory improved. Her mood stabilized. It wasn't a pill. It was light. And it's available to you every morning. What about grief? Or the quiet emotions you've swallowed for years? If you've lost someone recently or decades ago and you've never really spoken about it, your body knows. Because grief, when unexpressed, doesn't vanish. It stores itself in your chest, your stomach, your posture, your breath. You don't need a therapist to begin. You just need a place to speak the unsaid. Maybe it's a notebook. Maybe it's a trusted friend. Maybe it's a moment each morning where you place your hand on your heart and say, I still miss you. And then breathe. Try the 4-7-8 technique. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 7. Exhale slowly for 8. Do this 3 times. It tells your body you're safe. It tells your heart you're allowed to feel. George, 86, hadn't cried since his wife passed 7 years ago. But when he finally began saying her name out loud each morning, just once, His shoulders softened. His chest felt less tight. He began sleeping through the night again. Grief doesn't need to be cured. It needs to be heard. And now, perhaps the most invisible shift of all, purpose. Not big dreams, not grand plans, just a reason to wake up, to move, to matter. That reason might be a cat waiting to be fed, a plant that needs watering, a chair that needs fixing, and a postcard to write, a prayer to whisper. You don't need an audience. You just need something to tend to. Something that reminds you, I am still needed in this world. Ruth, 88, wasn't wealthy. She didn't have family nearby. But every Monday, she wrote a postcard to another elder in her church. Every Thursday, she cooked soup for the shelter and froze it. Every afternoon, she sat at her window to wave at the neighborhood kids walking home. She knew their names. They knew hers. And that quiet rhythm gave her days structure, meaning, continuity. When your body senses that it's no longer useful, it begins to let go. But when it receives even the smallest message that it still matters, it stays online. So ask yourself, what could I look forward to tomorrow? What small thing could depend on me? Don't underestimate the power of ordinary rituals. They are not meaningless. They are medicine. Maybe all of this feels like a lot right now. Maybe a part of you is quietly whispering, I've let too much go. It's too late. But here's what I want you to remember. The body is always listening. And it's never too late to speak life back into it. Just like a tree that's gone dry but still stands rooted, if you give it light, warmth, and water, it will begin to bloom again. You are that tree. Your limbs may ache, your days may feel quieter than they once were, but inside you there's still breath, still rhythm, still something waiting to be remembered. Aging is not just about decline. It's also about becoming more refined, like sea glass, like weathered stone, like the soft strength of a candle that still burns after the storm. You don't need to do everything at once. You don't need to fix it all. You just need to begin. One small hello to a neighbor, one moment in the sun, one deep breath that tells your nervous system, I'm safe, I'm here, I'm not finished yet. And those small actions will begin to echo, not just in your muscles, but in your mood, your memory, your sleep, your steps. And slowly the fog lifts. You'll remember what it feels like to wake up not just breathing, but alive. You'll find that time doesn't just pass, it can be reclaimed. That your days still hold color. And that your presence still matters. Even if you've lost people, even if you've been through seasons of silence, there is still space for joy to return. Still time to build new rituals, to start a new rhythm, to leave a legacy not of survival but of renewal. You are not too late. You are not behind. You are here. And the very fact that you're listening to these words right now, that you made it this far, means something inside you still believes. So honor that voice. Water it. Tend to it. And then begin again. Because even after 80, especially after 80, there is still so much more life waiting to be lived. If something in this video stirred something inside you, even just a thought, a pause, a small breath of reflection, then I want to thank you. Truly, because staying open to reflection at this stage of life is not easy. It takes courage to say, maybe I could do something differently. And it takes tenderness to admit, maybe I want more than just existing. So if today's message helped you feel even a little more seen, a little more hopeful, a little more ready to reclaim the days ahead, then I invite you to do just one thing. Leave a comment below. Share the one thing you'll carry forward from this conversation. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a habit you want to begin again. And maybe it's just a reminder you needed to hear today. Your story matters. Your reflections matter. And they help others more than you know. When you write your words down, someone else, somewhere, will read them. And maybe they'll feel a little less alone. A little more inspired to take that first gentle step too. If you found this video meaningful, I'd be honored if you'd pass it along to a friend, a sibling, a neighbor, someone who might need this soft reminder. Because sometimes the smallest message finds someone at exactly the right moment. And if you'd like more videos like this, you can subscribe or follow, but only if it feels right for you. There is no pressure, just an open invitation to keep walking this path of renewal together, because you're not done yet. And neither are we.